I spent 3 years following dating advice, confidence, mindset, numbers game. And you know what happened? Nothing changed. And it wasn't through a lack of effort or execution. In fact, I was following advice which wasn't built for men like me. D, have you heard this story before?
Bro, you're not the only one. Almost every minority guy that came to me saying like, yo, I spent 5, 10K on a boot camp, probably even more, an immersion overseas, yada yada. Be yourself, energy, confidence, and then they realize like internally like archetype comes into role, and
Yes, sir.
if you don't have your game on point, you're gonna get screwed.
So if you've ever felt invisible, this right here is why. Let's get into it. The core thing that you guys need to understand, my minority men, my Asians, my brown men, my black men, the market isn't fair. In fact, most dating advice assumes that you're going to receive neutral baseline level of reception and perception. Now, we know that ain't the case. We know if you're not socially pre-selected. We know if you haven't got an archetype that is conditionally considered sexual. We know there's going to be some identity friction that happens over there. That isn't us blaming. That isn't us complaining. That's highlighting how the world works. So let's break it down. We're not saying that it's impossible or that there's no way to get out of this situation. But what we're saying is the reality that a lot of minority men find themselves in is very different from what the advice assumes. All right. In other words, as a minority man, you ain't starting from zero. You know what I mean, coach? You aren't starting from an equal baseline. If you look very generic, if you don't have a sexually desirable archetype, you aren't producing those feelings and those emotions inside.
Yeah, the emotional stimulations, because if you don't have a presentable archetype or environment too, especially if you are a minority in New York City, you're going to play at a deficit, either a negative or positive based off your perceived value and your multiplier effect of your halo.
Yeah. So they start in a deficit that they can't even see. And here's a problem.
Or they refuse to see too.
And that they refuse to see too, right? And that's stubbornness. But here's the thing, as a coach.
Right.
Coach, if they're going out there day in, day out, and they're not getting frame and receptivity. The truth of the matter is, this didn't start when you began researching dating advice. This started way earlier for you, minority men. Back to how you were raised in childhood, what you were taught, what you were rewarded for. And what we're now going to explore is the unique challenges that you face as a minority man. D, minority men, often, we're coming from a background where we defer to our parents. We hold a lot of respect and regard for our parents. We're under a lot of academic pressure to perform. Basically, we get suppressed in our sexuality, in our expression. And that fucks us, a lot of us, when it comes to building romantic relationships in life.
Yeah, you become a sheltered child. It's the same thing in my culture as well. They want me to get into like top tier colleges. It's a lot about like status as a minority, and then you lack like social skills, and you spend your entire life trying to chase this degree or this 200K plus job, and you have no idea whatsoever how to attract a woman.
Yeah. The pattern is focus on school, focus on education, focus on like family life. We get taught certain expectations really early on, right? For me as an Indian man, the massive pressure was on, you have to get married, you have to get married, you have
All
to.
the aunties, when you go to the parties and weddings, like, where's your wife?
Exactly, every single time.
Same for me.
Every single time, man. So, bro, I was like 15, they're like, you got to start thinking about this, you got to get, as soon as I was 18, man, the pressure started, yeah?
That does something to your psyche too.
Of course it does, right? Because think about it, like we're minority men. I'm coming from England. I'm not getting any pre-selection signals. I'm not getting any positive reception from the girls in my environment. I'm thinking, bro, what am I going to do? You're telling me to get married and shit. Like, I'm invisible out here. I don't know what to do, right? And you're pressuring me to figure out who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with when I'm 18, 19. It's crazy. So the thing is, what a lot of minority men get taught and the pressures that we get placed under really means that we get emotionally suppressed. Yeah, we're told don't be too loud, be like really conservative and orderly. Don't speak up and so on and so forth. Don't embarrass the family.
Be a good boy.
Be respectful.
Be a good little boy.
Yeah. In other words, we're trained to behave a certain way, yeah?
To be a cuck.
Exactly. When you suppress yourself, when you suppress taking risks, taking social risks and whatnot, you also suppress the development of romantic skill, which is what happens to minority men, right? And you also, when you place this kind of like family expectations to not disappoint the family, to really step up and, get that wife and kids that my Indian parents were pushing down my throat like it was, there's nothing more important to them than this. There's nothing more. In Indian culture, a wedding is called biyah, right?
You guys go all out too.
All out, man. They spend like 50 to 100 grand on this shit. It's ridiculous.
Parties are pretty fucking awesome, but the fact that you got to deal with like the aunties. And I also got like a kind of emotional story. I remember when I first came to America to better myself.
Yeah.
And my mom would have phone calls with me. She's like, yo, you're getting older. You're 20s, late 20s, like what's going on? And I would tell her on the phone, like, Ma, I tried my hardest to get a brown girl. Paki, Afghani, Indian, whatever, Middle Eastern, just to assimilate the culture. And I would tell her like they would treat me the absolute fucking worst because the brown women that came here are ashamed of their culture and they'll just take like any mediocre white dude for status, excuse me. And now when I would have these hard conversations with her, she would say, you're negative, you're hateful, you're biased, until she moved to America after I got my shit together to help take care of her life. God bless. She apologized to me and I kind of cried. She's like, I didn't know that they were that racist towards you. And I'm sorry. I realized it was actually like different for a minority guy trying to get into the culture of him finding a wife that it's really fucking racist in New York.
Bro, it's just the dynamic everywhere.
Right.
Like my mum, she's a sweet, lovely Indian lady. I've got an amazing relationship with her.
Correct.
She was pushing all this shit on me. And you know what happened with her? A couple of years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, she got social media on her phone and she started watching TikTok and she learned everything. Yeah,
you see the truth. My mom came here and started to see like, wait a minute. All these beautiful like Desi girls, brown girls, Middle Eastern girls.
Hating on brown men.
Yeah, you kidding me, man?
Hating, dude.
Or like with like the most mediocre, most average white guy or white guy out of shape, not even conventionally attractive. Yeah. And she'll be the one in shape or better looking only because of perceived status. And then that's when she finally said like, okay, I want you to get married, but like do your best. But I understand that racism is so fucking prevalent in New York City, especially as a brown or Asian guy.
So with the experience of like being pressured towards marriage, which I was massively pressured towards marriage. Like my mum told me, you're not allowed to date. You're not allowed to get a girlfriend. You're not, like she started screaming at me when I was like 9, 10. Don't talk to girls. You have to get married. Like this kind of crazy shit, man. And like put fear in me.
Yeah, it builds up a psychological trauma.
Of course it does, man. So what happened with me was you're not doing the early reps, aren't you? In your whole formative years, and you're like 5, 6, 7, 8, you're stigmatized from talking to girls. It's considered extremely shameful to talk to girls. Extremely shameful in like brown culture to talk to girls. I think Asian culture, I think.
Yeah, it's basically both the same thing. I would say like for black culture and my black clients, they are a little bit more sociable, but then they deal with this stigma of like, I don't just want to be like a chocolate BBC fetish or like I don't want to be just looked like as a thug. They want to get like, so they deal with different kind of problems, which is like social acceptance in a different way.
I got you, man, but all of us got different challenges. But
yeah, it's issues you have to address.
No, I respect that, of course. And my critical issue is though, like when we get a case on the books when we're dealing with a man, we have to understand what kind of background, what kind of experiences he had, and understand that like if he was under like a very Asian or a very Indian culture, then he had decades where he didn't do the rest.
Yeah, socially awkward, super autistic socially.
Yeah. So you have to compensate, right? You have to kind of like, they begin to socially compensate. They had less trial and error to figure this shit out. Like, I didn't have any space to maneuver, to try to work this shit out. It wasn't possible for me, right? And when other guys are learning this shit at 16, I'm just sitting there learning, staying safe, trying to not piss my parents off too much. And this is across the board. with
Dude,
my
I used
men.
to, like, behind my parents' back, go on like online dating sims just to hear like a girl's voice overseas and speak to women, and they would like beat the shit out of me if they knew I was doing that. I was legit under socialized.
That's what happened. Yeah,
But I did everything I could because I felt like ostracized from the world, and like I didn't want to like just like be in my little fantasy of like video games and anime. So I wanted to be that guy, but I was just so weird and autistic.
Yeah, because if you don't do the reps, you don't build the structure. So the thing with this is, yeah, on the one side, minority men have to balance being respectful, right? Not offending people, our family and whatnot, not taking risks. And on the other side, in the romantic world, they have to lead, they have to be initiative, they have to be bold and all the rest. So minority men are in a fucking impossible situation. And then essentially, at a certain point, they wake up and they have to figure this shit out, and then they have to go out and try and be attractive.
Wait, you know when they wake up though? They wake up after they get their 203K job and be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I got this job. I work at Google. I work, whatever nice comp side job, Facebook tech. And they'll come to me and you, like saying like, I got this job. Where's all the hot blonde women? I'm just like, it don't work like that,
That's
buddy.
not how it works. I'm sorry.
And then don't forget coaching from like mainstream media coaches or like attractive coaches saying be yourself. That adds to that.
Yeah.
So a lot of mental fucking bashing and brainwashing. So you can imagine that poor individual, how messed up in his head he is. And he's that entitlement and everything's just like, what the hell's going on in my world?
Yeah. Because this is frankly, it's a competitive and aggressive game. And they've developed like a life strategy that's basically very defensive. I need to go, I'm under pressure to get this exam result, go to this school, get this job, all this sort of thing. They live in this like defensive posture, yeah? And all their value that's in their head is stuff external to them. That's what their cultures really push them towards, getting external shit. They don't develop their actual core essence, and they don't have it.
No, not at all. You just become an empty pocket of a man who just has like his fancy job to his name.
And then that doesn't work anymore, okay? Women don't need this anymore. Provisioning.
Yeah, they can provide for themselves. You know that women are now owning the market now when it comes to making, they're the breadwinners.
Well, they make more money than men.
Yeah, they
the
do.
average woman makes more
So
money
it's
than
like,
the average man.
what do you do if she's making 150 to 400 to 300 to 200? She don't need your ass. So the best thing you can do as a man is, yes, also get your money up, but also to provide that comfort, that establishedness of stimulating her emotions and letting her feel that vulnerability around you. And a lot of women that are not able to feel the emotion because when they're in relationships with beta provider, they end up either cheating on him or just being always miserable and upset that they don't have that man. So that's why it's more important than ever to build your raw essence. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. See, the problem is they're going to wake up, they're going to notice, they're going to look around and think, my fucking relationships are tried. If they've got any self-awareness, they're going to see, well, frankly, I can see my white friends are doing far better than me. I can see my black friends are doing far better than me. Why? If they start to ask this question, they go online, they're going to be told, just be confident. And the guys who like are going to be very hard to work with are the guys that like can't put two and two together and can't get out of rainbow land, and who genuinely believe it's just that they're not being confident enough, right? Those are going to be difficult to work with. And to those people, I'd say, well, you can be confident, but if you don't address your underlying conditioning,
your internal issues,
you're not going to get anywhere. All you're going to build is a more confident, frankly, total fucking buffoon in the romantic sphere.
Yeah, you're going to be a clown.
Yeah. They're going to be told to take action, and you can take all the action in the world, but if you don't have like core essence, your hesitation's going to leak out. Your discomfort with sexuality and polarity and man to woman interaction is going to leak out.
Yeah, you won't be leading your dating life nor your relationships and your marriage if you're not a man who can truly develop his aura and essence in today's society.
Yeah. And furthermore, when they're told just be yourself and that's how you win, Well, frankly, the version of themselves that they're being is a suppressed version they were trained to be by their culture. And this is what is produced.
Yeah, you see, me and you, we troll be yourself, but I advocate it once you become your best self, your unfiltered self, your most dominant, your most masculine, the one that can lead, because that self brings out intrinsic value on the internal, which then creates the raw authenticity, the genuineness, the best attraction there is, which is the internal hypergamy of a masculine man that brings it together, the glue.
Yeah, agreed. So look, let's look at it this way, given practical solutions. The first thing they have to do is decondition themselves. Yeah, ultimately outcomes are everything. Your results, what your relationship outcomes are, is proof in the pudding, yeah? If you are attracted to the kind of women you desire, if you are getting into healthy, happy relationships, if it's like quality partnership, yeah, if there's genuine desire, if that's happening, yeah, you're on track. If that's not happening, if you've got scarcity, if you're not meeting the attractive women you like, if you're not building proper relationships with them, if it's just superficial bullshit, if it's like very inconsistent, yeah, that's not gonna build a happy, satisfying life for you. If you've got that, you've got to decondition yourself. You've got to be really, really raw, drop the ego, and understand you've been lied to, you've been fed a load of bullshit. Your IQ, your degrees, your job title, all that shit, guess what? It don't really mean shit.
It don't mean shit, man. It really don't mean shit.
It don't mean shit. Because, I can show you totally broken, busted up, unemployed bums are doing way better in your asses in the dating marketplace.
And this is true because, and this is true because they have a certain aura and I don't give a fuckness to them. But when it comes to long-term provision, that's where they're struggling. So it's like you got to get everything done.
Of course. Of course we want to get everything done. But the thing is, high-performing men are in the position to do this. The thing is, this isn't like rocket science, man. We can fix this shit. Like, change your conditioning. You got to change your behavioral traits. You can't be this approval-seeking person. You can't be this nice guy. You can't have these kind of tendencies. You've got to really bring man-to-woman essence out of you. It's already in you. It just got suppressed. Mm-hmm. So the process we're going to advocate for is to rebuild that, reconnect with that shit, so you can be naturally attracted before she even knows anything about you, right? If a guy who's really done this shit, worked on the core layers, goes out there, she feels it immediately. Then all the value comes after. Let her discover that shit about you. You know what I mean? But the key thing is that minority men must understand your conditioning's so bad. You will not win. In this world that we live in, it's ruthless, yeah? Everyone can date anyone. There's no barriers. And the women they're going to go for the best.
Yeah, they're
going to go for the best.
Like I said, they're leading the dating market now.
Yeah, they got choice. They got more power than we do. How are you going to win that? Right? You got to understand, this game is ruthless. This game is brutal. You're dumb ass who thinks he can. You're trained to be a kind of like a suppressed kid. Now you're a suppressed adult, right? Like it or not, I don't care how many promotions you've got. I had all that shit. Didn't do nothing. What matters is in this arena, if you are underperforming, you have to go and compete with all these people, because that's women don't care. There's no loyalty to your heritage or whatever. You got to go and win, and therefore we've got some steps for them, right?
Correct.
Firstly, decondition yourself, change your identity, shift your identity. Yeah, actually learn the mechanics of how to do this in an attractive, desirable way. Best way to do that, right? Be in the social world, be in the streets, be out there, yeah, and learn the fundamental mechanics, and that gives us the data to understand.
Right. Understand why attraction is the way they is, social calibration, and how to present yourself as a man in a respectful way, but also to show that you're a risk taker too.
Yeah.
To create attraction out of nowhere.
But not only that, but again, as we all said, the girl's a mirror. We're going to understand what's wrong with you, where you're breaking down.
Right.
And once we fix that properly and deeply, you don't have to run around the streets anymore.
Yeah, it's like when I had clients that would make, anywhere between 200 to 400, these super smart guys, they would go up to these girls and they'd be fucking terrified like they're a murderer or something or a kidnapper because they're so socially scared.
Yeah.
She's going to mimic that energy and be afraid of you because you're not showing any confidence. And she don't care about your promotion that you're making $250,000.
Yeah, but we just got data from that. So we could see nervous system dysregulation.
Right.
We can see lack of actual genuine intent.
Eye contact,
lack of confidence,
tonality, body language.
Yeah. And we get that information. And then we fix that whilst we also fix the inner game, whilst we also build fantastic dating profile, whilst we also train them train them like you train them every week, right?
Yeah, this is why it's important
Fix
to
that
have
shit.
the meta glasses so that we can see at firsthand how are you performing when you're out there cold approaching.
Yep. And again, we're not telling you to go cold approach forever or that necessarily that's where you're going to find your wife. We're telling you fix your actual root cause, build your actual core essence the right way so you can be attractive to women.
Yeah, to up your probability in life.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Right.
You correct that shit, you go out there and live your life.
And then when the opportunity arises, you're able to get who you want.
Yeah. And we do all of it. We do the apps, you can do social circle, whatever you want. But the thing is, if we can't fix your root problem, we haven't served
True.
you.
You need to be attuned.
Confident, put together, good verbals, good man to woman ability, good vibe, presence. We fix those things, we get the frame right, we get the mindset right, we do enough volume with online, with cold approach, with whatever social circle, it's impossible for you to not improve. It's actually impossible, right? So we get that shit going and we can get them somewhere. But we can only get them somewhere if they're going to accept reality. Like, wake the fuck up. Your ass is at a deficit. You ain't got the right conditioning. Why is that all of us in the same boat, man?
Well, that's the thing. They think that if they can just get a couple of more matches, get that next promotion, keep working out at Equinox, she's going to fall in your lap, or like 1,000 more approaches of Be Yourself Rainbow Land. It's more than fix your fucking broken product, develop an archetype, and learn how to communicate that attraction where she feels that sexual tension of you being a man and is being more open to you and flirtatious because you know what you're doing. You got some aura to you.
Yeah. So here's the thing as we now shut off then. Minority men, you were trained to be safe, to not disappoint the family, to maintain standards. You were given shame and guilt around sexuality. You weren't allowed to express yourself and get those early reps in that you're supposed to be doing in your teenage years. You are at a deficit. And for you to get out of this, you need a system, you need a method. We didn't see that in the world, so me and Dee built it. What we have addresses your root problem for men like you. And you go through it, you fix this permanently. And you go on and live a healthy, happy, productive life. That is what this channel's about. And if you resonate with that, subscribe. Thank you.